Well, to keep us on time, I'll try to be brief, and then if you guys have any questions, I'll be around. But my name is Beka Gil. I've been with USMEF for just about a year. Before that, I worked for Colorado Cattlemen's, and we shared an office with wool growers, so I got to learn about issues from the environmental side of things, so it's kind of a great opportunity to look at it from a different aspect. So as Dennis mentioned, for probably the past 6 months, we've been working with a group of representatives from the industry to take a deeper look into what the opportunities are for export markets. But before I go into that, I'm just going to give you a little bit more background about what USMEF does and what we're all about. Dennis outlined we do help identify market opportunities. We do that through a variety of activities. I just threw a few examples up there. But one of the ones that we do quite a bit is trade teams. We have a lot of teams come over because they're interested in buying the product. So if we can show them not only different packing plants and what we have to offer, but also the operations themselves, that speaks volumes. So we do a lot of those different activities. In-market intelligence is really something that kind of does make our organization unique. Our staff in each of the countries is usually someone native to that country, so it really helps us understand the culture, what their diets are, their nutritional needs, what they're looking for, because as you guys know, I'm sure many of you have traveled, they eat differently than we do. We do a lot with market access. People might have shipments that are held up at ports, labeling, certification, you name it. We do try to assist with that in a lot of different areas. Sometimes it's trade barriers, etc. And I think, as you guys know, the more you're going to export or the more product you're going to sell, the more you're going to run into those issues. They're just going to become created. So they're never going to go away, but we're here to help with that process, try to keep it as smooth as we can. And, we do a lot of in-product promotion. Next time you guys travel, whether it be to Mexico or somewhere farther overseas, if you're in a retail situation, go look at the meat case and see if you can't identify some of those in-product promotions that we do. We do have 18 different international offices. Denver is our headquarter office, and then we have them scattered all throughout the country. And I work in our marketing department, and just to kind of give you an idea how our marketing program works, basically whenever we go into a specific country, we always start with importers and distributors. That's our main goal, is to get to know who those people are, get to know your customer. And as we know these people, we start to work our way down through the chain. So HRI stands for hotels, restaurants, and institutions. Then we'll go to retail, and then all the way down to the consumer. So a good example, in South America right now, we're just at the importer-distributor level. We're trying to get to know those people, build that relationship. But in Japan, we're actually all the way over here doing a lot of consumer work because we've been in that market for such a long time. So how far we are in this chain just really depends on the different market that we're in. So as Dennis touched upon, we've talked about what they came to us and asked us to do was put together some research on different markets that they were interested in. And the list expanded beyond these three. These are just the three that I'm going to talk about today. We personally felt that in the near term, these had the most success in terms of talking about market negotiating and opening up access to these countries. So what we did was we talked to our international staff about what are the restrictions there. And then also, if the market was open to U.S. lamb, how do you foresee, what would the market be? How would the consumers use it? And so, first of all, in Japan, as Dennis mentioned, they're just getting ready. We hope it's the beginning of February to change the beef requirement. This will be a really good step, we think, for U.S. lamb, because basically what we're going to ask them to do is come into line with science on the sheep part of things too. So that's why we really think Japan should kind of be at the top of the list for starting these negotiations. In that market, our staff tells us that there is recognition that U.S. lamb is a higher quality product. The opportunities for it are going to be in the high-end hotels, kind of the white tablecloth dining establishments. And you can look at these numbers. Our economists put them together. They're somewhat of an estimate. But the value of Japan's imports have increased 45%. And we're just comparing the year 2003, the BSE year, to 2012. And so her estimate is that if U.S. could capture 10% of the Japan market, the value would be roughly $13 million. For Korea, Korea's import restriction is again, scrapie-related restriction, and you need to be TSE or being certified as TSE or scrapie-free for at least 5 years. For them, lamb is predominantly used right now in the food service sector, and I just put a picture up here. A lot of it's in the form of kebabs, street-side vendors. For U.S. lamb, because it is a superior product, they see the market being high-end hotels, again, the white tablecloth dining establishments. They do think it has potential in the food service sector at some point, but it's going to be a price-sensitive market. And they also pointed out that Korea's consumers really don't have recognition with grain-fed product or chilled products. So it's going to be behavioral change to get them used to the palette of grain-fed versus a grass-fed product. So Korea's lamb imports have increased by nearly fourfold if we look at that 2003 to 2012 comparison. And if U.S. could capture about 10% of this market, the value would be roughly $2.4 million. And in Taiwan, their restriction is that if you're going to import into this country, you need to be scrapie-free or being certified as scrapie-free for the past 7 years. And again, our Taiwan staff came back and told us that consumers primarily eat mutton. So again, if we have U.S. lamb into this market, it's going to be a bit of a behavioral change of the quality aspect. So they do feel that market opportunities are, again, your high-end hotels and your white tablecloth dining establishments. And again, they're kind of worried about the price competition or the price competitiveness of U.S. lamb compared to what they're importing. And I think with all the markets that we sat down and talked to the representatives with, this is what our staff predominantly came back and said. There's opportunity here, but it's going to be price sensitive, and you're going to see it in your higher-end food service hotels, things like that. The value of Taiwan's imports have increased by around 80%, so they've really had a jump from 2003 to 2012. And if U.S. could capture about 5% of this market, the value would be around $7 million. So just to kind of sum up the Asian markets, if you combined all of those, and again, these are estimates that our economists helped put together, but you could reach about 22.4 million worth of exports. And so that would nearly double the largest export market today for lamb, which is Mexico, as Dennis identified. And again, we realize that there's other export market opportunities out there, but we just feel that these are the logical ones to start with. And as Dennis said, it's a complicated thing. It's not just what we can do with U.S. government, but we have to look at that foreign government. And Dennis and I were talking this morning. If I were here last year, we would not be talking about Taiwan. Lamb would have been so far off their radar with their government and the ractopamine issue, it wouldn't have made sense to go that route. But they're over that now, so it's a market that we really think has a lot of possibility. So, why we're here today, and Dennis, and we've been having a lot of, conversations with Rosen, Superior, American Sheep Industry, and Lamb Board, is to get that industry support so that we can go to the U.S. government, start those market negotiations, and then hopefully when we get there, and get there soon, then we can start what we do on our end is that market promotion and activities to really help support the product in the market. And lastly, I'm just going to touch on the EU. This is not a scrapie issue. As Dennis pointed out, it's a hormone issue. And we've talked to the industry quite a bit about this. Non-hormone products can go into the EU. And so it's up to the industry if you want to look at a non-hormone program similar to cattle. It's, as you guys know, another program is somewhat of another expense. What we have talked about is another alternative of taking Ralgrow off the approved species list. We talked to some of the industry players, and our feedback that we heard was that the industry doesn't commonly use hormones. So we just asked, and Dennis and others in the room that have attended those meetings, we've had this conversation. If it's not being used, does it make sense to take it off the approved species list, and then you don't have to have a non-hormone treated program? So that's not our decision to make. Obviously, that's yours as an industry, but it's something to consider. And we're here to support, whichever direction the industry needs to go. But I think that market is pretty readily available. It's just a decision of which direction you want to go with that. So I didn't have the trap door, so I hope we made it. But I'll be around if you guys have any further questions, and thank you for having us here.